Good Sunday evening, guys. Um, let's talk again about the Resilient Jenkins. If you're not familiar with the family that I'm speaking of, this is a family that lives in Portland, Oregon, consisting of Stephanie Thompson as the mother role. Stephanie, as much as she would like to have everybody believe she is married to Drew Jenkins, is not actually married to Drew Jenkins. Her husband is actually in prison for SO. Okay? Um, the father figure in the situation is Drew Jenkins. Between the two of them, there are 5 children involved. Now, uh, over the past few months, this family has been living in a shelter program. Every 28 days, they have to change rooms. And when I say rooms, we're talking about 5 children, 2 adults in a one room shelter motel room. These are motels that have been converted to shelter dwellings for people who are homeless. Now, let's talk about being homeless. Homeless means that you monetarily cannot afford housing. Therefore, you do not have a home. Okay. Um, Stephanie Thompson runs the Resilient Jenkins TikTok page, has oodles and oodles and oodles of followers, and makes plenty of money off of that TikTok page every month. However, since going into the shelter situation and Drew also having, you know, an actual, as they call it, W-2 job, um, they're still living in the shelter. Now, I'm pretty sure that the whole reason they're able to do that is because she's not reporting her income. 1099s are usually those independent contractors, are not reported to the state and federal tax systems until the end of the year, whereas W 2 are reported either on a monthly basis or a quarterly basis. Okay. Since Stephanie is the one that income is coming to, not Drew, she can get away with, saying, hey, I don't have any income. And if they were to pull up the states and the IRS's employment tax systems, they would see that for this year. So technically, that's fraud. But regardless of that, we have seen zero intent of them doing anything to improve their situation for these children. Okay. Now, recently, Miss Stephanie, put up a little, I don't know if it was on TikTok where it was, but she posted a little, basically why she shouldn't listen to the get a job groups, because all of us are saying, you need to get a job, lady. You've got kids, get a job. Okay. There's no reason, they say that finances aren't an issue, but yet they're $2,000 a month behind. I mean, $2,000 behind on their car payments. And like I said, they are still living in the shelter system. Okay, so where's this money going to? All right, where's it going to? Because parents that are actually being parents, and taking care of their children, putting their children's needs and wants ahead of theirs, would not have their children staying, number one, in a shelter system where you literally do not know who your neighbor is, who the neighbors upstairs are from day to day. On a regular, drug needles have to be cleaned up from the yard that her children run around barefooted in all the time. We've had issues with her, not only, allowing her 2 older girls to walk around in, tight fitting, leotard type clothing and being broadcasted on TikTok for all the PDF files to look at. But the unfortunate truth is, there's a lot of those type people that find themselves living in shelter situations as well, and so they're literally just looking out their windows But anyway, let's talk about her reasons why she shouldn't listen to people who are telling her to get a job. Number one, she says, I'm not putting my kids in someone else's care. I'm blessed to not miss moments with my kids. Okay, well, let's talk about those moments. What moments? You never take them anywhere. They don't go anywhere. One kid gets to go with you to do laundry. Yeah, that's all fun and great, right? Other than that, as I said before, they have a little grassy area next to the dumpsters where drug needles are found on the regular and have to be cleaned up, where they can literally run around in circles and play in. 5 kids in one room, not a one bedroom and then another room that serves as a living space and kitchen area. A one room. The only other room in this place is the teeny tiny bathroom. Okay, so these 7 people share this one room. So exactly, what what moments are you talking about? Because we sit there, your toddler, we have seen you post videos of him literally walking back and forth from one side of the room to the other, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Why? Because he has nothing else to do. Okay. Um, you're constantly talking about, how you spend your whole days cleaning and cooking, and the cooking is disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting. I mean, every meal that you cook, you put at least 5 jars of different spices, which are basically the accumulative of salt on top of food, mushed up. I mean, it's sick. I mean, get a cookbook. How about that? Um, but yeah, what exactly, what moments are you talking about? Because you spend your days literally making TikTok videos in which we can see your children in the background either sitting there doing nothing, staring at a TV, um, or like we said, maybe running around in circles outside in the drug needle yard, barefooted, with all the PDF files that happen to be living in the shelter system that week, that day, whatever, watching them. Okay. And you're just sitting there talking crap about people who think that your living situation isn't ideal for your children. And ma'am, they are correct. All right. Number 2, I'm making about the same I'd make if I were working, but I'm making it from home. You mean to tell me you wouldn't want that? Ma'am, I have that. Okay, difference between me and you is I live in a house with a huge fenced in backyard and front yard. Okay? Um each one of my children has a bedroom. We have living rooms, we have kitchens, we have dining rooms, we have an entire basement, that I use for part of my business that I run out of my home. The rest of it, I mean, literally, the kids have made their little, a little fort type house, a little playroom, I guess you would say. They've set up, extra chairs down there and whatnot. So when they have friends over, or when the older kids have friends over to go watch football, things like that. Okay, see, that's the thing, though. You do not have a home at all. You live in a one-room shelter room for which you do not pay for. I pay for my home. I pay for the utilities for my home. You do not. You do not work from home. You work for a shelter. You make money from your TikTok out of your shelter room for which you are defrauding that shelter program. Because if they knew that you were making that much money, they would not allow you to live there. Okay, number 3. She knows what's best for the family. Now, there may come a time when she decides to go back to work. She misses doing work. Okay, lady, if you don't understand that that time is now, I'm sorry, but you are delusional, and I don't. You know what's best for your family, so you're going to tell all of us that what's best for your family is that you all live in a shelter, while the only reason that you're living there is because you are defrauding that shelter system. And what's best for your family is that you sit there and you neglect your family. You make TikTok videos where you're constantly talking about how all you do all day long is clean and cook, clean and cook, clean and cook, in which you turn around and blame your children for, I mean, you literally blame your children. This is the reason I'm having to do all this cleaning is because the kids, keep making this mess. Well, ma'am, you have 5 kids living in one room. Okay? 5. So, yeah, you are nuts. Okay, let's look at something else she had to say. She actually wants to start her own business from home. Again, ma'am, you don't have a home. You live in a shelter room. Okay. And if you, okay, obviously you don't, I don't know if you like went to high school. You obviously didn't take any business courses, because to start a business, you have to have money to start that business. So if we have money to start a business, that means that we have money for housing. Okay. So you can't start your business and run it out of a shelter room. I'm pretty sure as well, if you read the rules and regulations of your program, that I'm pretty sure that that's against their rules and regulations to run an at-home business out of your free shelter room. So there again, if you have money to start your own business, I don't know what your business will be, because you don't seem to be good at anything. I mean, now, granted, okay, not everybody, gets to go to college, and so I understand that. Okay. So don't think that I'm, in any way, talking down to anyone who didn't get that experience. I understand that. I'm 50 years old. I was a mother at the age of 17. Okay. I've done it the hard way. I mean, I've done it, but I've done it the hard way, but at no point in time did myself and my children live in a shelter room. I've always worked and provided for my children, even while going to school, working full-time jobs, and having my kids. We've always had a home that I paid for. Okay. Do I have my own business? Yes, I do. Why? Well, because I've done things the right way. So, I don't know what business you're going to start, but if you have money to start a business, then you have money to put your children into a better housing situation first. Number 2, like I said, pretty sure that running an at-home business is against the rules and regulations of the shelter agency that you're working with. Okay? At this point, you claim you are a stay-at-home mother, number 1. Okay, to be a stay-at-home mother, again, we have to have a home. You don't have one. And number 2, you have to actually be a mother. Okay, and being a mother does not include defrauding public programs so that you can live for free, so that you can stay in your one-room home with your 5 kids and do your stupid little TikTok videos that the only reason people watch is because we're worried about your kids and we want to keep an eye on your kids. Okay? Literally. No one watches this crap because we love you. I can tell you that. It's because we want to try to keep an eye on your kids. Okay? Here's the thing. Yes. Thank goodness, there is another creator that posts on the Resilient Jenkins quite regularly on YouTube, and that is Radiant Brit. I'm going to be, putting her channel in the description for this video. And I agree with her 100%. Stephanie needs to be demonetized. The Resilient Jenkins TikTok page needs to be demonetized because it is doing nothing but fueling a situation that is eventually going to cause at least one, something's going to happen to one of those children because the parents do not have the sense to be raising children. And they dang sure don't have the sense to be having to be in that type of situation. Unfortunately, there are parents that find themselves in situations where they can't monetarily, afford housing, and they have to move into it's a temporary, it's always meant to be a temporary situation. Okay, a shelter housing program is for temporary assistance so that the parents don't have to worry about paying rent or utilities. They can take the money that they're making from their jobs and save it up to get into permanent stable housing that is valuable for their children's um, mental health, emotional health, physical health, their educational health, all of that. Okay? Um, and the fact that that channel is still monetized, these parents are not like those parents. Okay? They are literally taking advantage of the situation. We don't know where the money's going to. And these children are the ones that are suffering for it. Okay. So at this point, yes, I 100% agree. The Resilient Jenkins TikTok page needs to be demonetized. And on top of that, CPS, DFACS, DHR, protective service, whatever you guys call it out there in Portland, I'm sorry, but at this point, seeing what she literally believes is valid reasons for her not to be doing anything to, you know, make her children's lives better, keeping them in harm's way, I'm sorry, but these kids need to be put somewhere where they will be taken care of. And that's nothing. I don't say that, with not having a lot of information about the situation and the situation. I mean, I understand how they work too. Here's the thing, they work for, family reunification is supposed to be their main objective. All right. So Stephanie's mother has offered her and those kids a home to live in with the caveat that Drew cannot be there. Okay. Stephanie has chosen Drew over those children. Okay. Therefore, more than likely, Stephanie's mother, if we can get the Department of Human Resources, Family Services, to get these children out of that situation, because it is clear, not only by just looking at the records, but looking at her page, look at what she says, look at the things she posts. It's clear that she doesn't care about making those kids' lives better in any way, or making sure that their welfare is taken care of, or making sure that they're in a protective space. All she cares about is Drew. Okay, well, that means that, so they need to get in there and they need to take those kids. They usually do try to place the children with a family member if a family member is willing to take them before they put them into a foster care situation. So if Stephanie's mother, is willing and able to take the children, then they more than likely will place them with Stephanie's mother, until Stephanie and Drew get their crap together. If they ever get their crap together, they may not. I'm telling you right now, I don't see too much hope in that. Um, her arrogant attitude that she has, that she thinks that this is just fine and blah blah. No, it's not fine. It's not fine. And here's the point, of we all have to band together to protect these kids at this point. I truly believe that your children are do not need to be in your care, ma'am. They don't. It scares the hell out of me, as a matter of fact, because you want to know why? Because just last week, little Emmanuel Harrow, okay, was reported missing by his parents, which that turned out to be a lie. This little boy's life was taken by his parents, okay? And this was a situation where DHR should have been monitoring this little boy from the get-go. Number one, his father is still on probation from where he brutally attacked his 10-month-old daughter 7 years ago, causing her permanent injury to the point that she literally only has 3% of brain function, which is basically enough to keep her alive. She cannot speak, she cannot walk, she cannot talk. She has to be fed through a feeding tube. She has a tracheostomy. She has to breathe through a tracheostomy. Okay, so he and his then wife only did 6 months in jail and then did a 4-year little work release program with the sheriff's department out there in California. And he was still on probation for that. Okay, on top of the fact that this child's mother had kids that she no longer that have been taken away from her long ago, and he was born with fetal alcohol syndrome. Okay, this was a child that should have, by all means, from the minute he was born, been monitored by the Department of Human Resources, Child Protective Services, whatever they, whatever they call their little, organization out there. It's a state-sponsored service that each county gets their money, and the caseworkers, are responsible for making sure that these kids are safe when they are in situations that are not optimal. Okay? It's pretty clear that in this case, and this is not the first one in California, they weren't doing their job. And this little 7-month-old boy lost his life as a result of it. Okay? So that's what scares the hell out of me about this, is that if DHR doesn't jump onto this situation, something's going to happen. Because like I said, there are people who sometimes end up having to stay in a shelter situation because, they've been dealt a hard hand and they need help. Those situations are, those shelter programs are a temporary fix. They're not meant to ever be permanent. There are also people who end up living in those places due to every fault of their own, due to the fact that they like to look at children, touch them, take pictures of them, whatever. And they've been in jail on and off, on and off, on and off all the time. Doesn't even have to be that, people who are on, unfortunately under the, have drug addiction problems, alcoholism. When you're under the influences of those things, you do things that you would not necessarily do if you weren't under those. But, there are people that end up living in those situations that have that to deal with as well. We have a situation here where these kids are in danger every day of their life. I mean, when we sit here and we watch her posting these TikTok videos, and you can see these kids running around by themselves, barefooted out in the yard, where there's needles, all that. It would be so easily for one of them kids to step on a needle that hasn't been dosed and immediately inject themselves with something that kills them within an hour. She doesn't care, though, because she wants to sit on her honey at home because she knows what's best for the family, right? Oh, but she makes so much money. Well, buy your kids some clothes then. Buy your older girls some clothes so that they're not running around. They're little girls. But unfortunately, there are people that look at them. PDF files are everywhere. And they're probably following you guys all the time. Every time you put your little videos up, even your toddler and your baby, you show them in diapers. It's a known fact that PDF files, when they cannot pay for the product that they want to watch, they go straight to social media platforms and they look for channels just like yours and get their jollies off watching them for free. Okay? You need to get your priorities straight, ma'am. And I'm sorry, but right now I don't think that you're capable of that. And so, yes, the Resilient Jenkins TikTok channel needs to be demonetized for the sake of those kids. And CPS needs to come in and they need to take your kids and put them somewhere safe, get them into a safe environment, a safe, thriving environment that's good for children, where these kids will be taken to school every day so that they can actually have, um, they can learn, they can have time with kids their age. And how about this? They can actually be in an environment where they don't have to. Do you not think that your kids are worried? Do you not think that your kids are not thinking all day long about when are my mom and dad going to get us a home where there's actually other kids to play with and, everything's not filthy? And I mean, when are my mom and dad going to care about me? Because that's what your kids are thinking right now. They might not be saying it, but that's what they're thinking. So, yeah, I'm sorry, but someone has to help these kids. These kids need to be rescued. And that channel needs to be demonetized, because at least that will be the first kick in the butt that Stephanie Thompson needs to start getting her life together if she really does care about her children. All right, guys. I'm working on some other stuff. So, but yeah, please, like I said, you guys, please do me a favor, do all those things that, YouTube likes for you to do. Please like this video. If you're not a sub for the channel, hit that subscribe button. It's the best way to support this channel, and it's free. Don't forget to hit that notification bell so that you can know when I post new content. And please also go over to Radiant Brit. She always has a lot. I mean, I love her content. It's great. And see what she has to say about, all of this. She posts a lot about the same things I do. So it's a great channel. But yeah, you guys, and I will be talking to you soon. And always remember to go out there and have fun. Please be safe. And always, always, always know that you are loved, and I love you. Bye, guys.